Hey guys, this is Rurouni K95 here. Today's anime review, we get to cover another anime series that I haven't been reviewing before until now, which I should have done a long time ago. For today's anime review, Ouran High School Host Club. Ouran High School Host Club is based on the manga series of the same name written by Bisco Hattori. This started as a 26 episode anime television series directed by Takuya Igarashi, which aired from April 5th, 2006 until September 26, 2006. Yep, this anime series came out in 2006, particularly in the mid 2000s. This is probably one of the most um, newer anime titles that came out particularly in the mid 2000s when it started to becoming popular for the popularity of this anime because it was serialized in particularly the how this manga how it was just how which is particularly none other than Haku Sensha's Lala magazine, particularly as well. You guessed it. So for the plot part, probably in Ouran High School Host Club, it's about Haruhi Fujioka, who is the only student at Ouran High School, not from an incredibly rich family, how this lands her in a able vase and is forced to pay it off by working as an indentured servant to the host club, a group of impossibly handsome boys who have made a hobby of running a bar for lonely women, seeking chaste male championship. Since Haruhi is rather androgynous herself, she is mistaken for a man and finds a new vacation in a pouring drinks and making small talk with the customers in a male impersonator variation of the rich boy harem to many other animes like Boys Over Flowers and Paradise Kiss as well. So that's particularly the plot on Ouran High School Host Club. So I'm going to explain to you about the story in Ouran High School Host Club, probably. So for the plot part, the story in the anime Ouran High School Host Club, however, which I'm going to give you in the whole positive ways, probably after the plot is the story is about after a vase worth 8 million yen, a poor frumpy girl named Haruhi must join the Oran host club in her high school reserved for the rich and prestigious. When she gets the scholarship, despite the school's image as a one style of elegance, Haruhi cares for little beauty and fashion so much even though that she is thought to be a boy but unfortunately for her, technically she's basically a girl. She was mistaken to be a boy. It doesn't mean it's not gender swapping. It's kind of almost like Ranma half in the certain manner, but it's had nothing to do with gender swapping. But instead, it's basically she is mistaken as a boy just because of her hairstyle changes, particularly of how it goes in the whole circumstance of how it goes, probably in the same way of how they wanted to explain of how what's going on in Ouran High School Host Club. When Haruhi cares little for beauty and fashion, well as how you know, the host club is the height of pomp and circumstance as handsome boys with far too much for the free time in many certain ways entertain the silliest girls of how by playing dress up. How do they do that? Well, we all know that's the question. Sometimes they work as matchmakers, as other times a vapid make-a-wish foundation. So that's how the story is about. So of how Ouran High School Host Club is the intimate of a fangirl like anime, of how the host club itself. This has some very elements of the series when it hits target of how the audience's desires. But I know it has some moments, but there's some harem going on in Ouran High School Host Club as well. There is a cast full of spectrum of high school girls, fetish archetypes, especially the handsome and the studious, the Yaoi twins, they're no less. of how the foreboding way, and all wealthy, of course, even touches of the Yuri. I mean, how did when Haruhi dresses as a member of the host club when she is basically mistaken as a boy? I mean, what is it with getting mistaken when you're being called a boy? That is the serious thing. The real mistake, probably what you see, particularly what's going on in Ouran High School Host Club, because Haruhi thinks that the boys think that she was a boy, but clearly she is a girl. I mean, is it because she changed her hair as the hairstyle? Well, we can know, but who knows about that? Some of the episodes were either hilarious or average than any other. Nothing in particular standouts. Where feminazis imposing on their feminine ways on others. About a high school club manager, a girl obsessed with dating sims, which is basically otherwise a simp in as particularly in the way who sees all the boys as stereotypes from these types of games. This is basically your typical break the fourth wall type anime of how the groundbreaking of how this has broke the fourth wall. If we can only know about this. I mean, that is how we would expect to see what you know as well. The significant compliment of the against the comedy is how they use text of pop-ups after punching lines. When they repeat or explain these types of jokes, when it reminds of how people had to add their own rubbish commentary or overly funny videos, like funniest home videos franchises of how it's just how it is what it is as well, particularly of how you want to explain what is going on as well. But to be honest, of how Ouran High School Host Club to have its most unpitful all of these types of comedy anime in general, particularly, it was a thing of how you wanted to know that it's a similar suckers like Please Teacher or Midori Days, but there's some standard predictable shunting of how the show entertains with some of these humors, unlike especially the comedy anime, such as Full Metal Panic Fumofu and Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Even though I haven't reviewed Full Metal Panic Fumofu just yet, but probably some other time for another review in the works as well. Anyways, back to Ouran High School Host Club. I got to be fair, this anime has looking at it how these types of these harem on boys instead of girls. Why would they do that? I mean, whatever it is, they should have used it on the girls rather than the boys in the whole of how they want to expect it, which is probably the worst thing of how I've ever seen. Why would they be a harem of boys rather than girls? I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to take it too far though, but anywho, it may be sound if you either like this anime or not, particularly as how you expect, as how they use harem of boys rather than girls. I mean, however, there is some humor, but there are some moments as well. There's basically a plot of a harem dynamic, particularly of how it gets my recommendation for any types of anime. So let's discuss about the art and the overalls in this pro cons in this certain manner of thing. The art medium, however, there are some roses everywhere. I mean, just because it's based on a shojo manga, I mean, it depends if it's girly or not. But technically, I would call this basically a shojo anime because there's a lot of roses. All is neat and clean, but it does have some visual depths and in anime for the how basically of how the animation and visual depths of how it goes for Ouran High School Host Club. The sound, however, particularly if you're a fan of Haruhi's voice in the Japanese dub, even if you don't like the voice in the English dub, that it just depends on how what the voice you prefer, either in English or in Japanese, in the whole certain way. So that's the thing. And yes, there's causing other characters to sound hilarious. And yeah, this anime does feature Vic Mignogna, Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist himself in this anime. Yeah, you guessed it, but in the Japanese version, this balances Haruhi's male and female personas of how this goes in the Japanese version, and that's probably particularly in the whole turn of event type ways of how it goes. But we all know this anime is about a frumpy girl who's mistaken for a boy who must join the Ouran Highschool Host Club of the handsome boys to pay off their debt, which is the fun, charming, and humorous, though attempts as a serious story of how it goes, of its flaws. But overall, if you're a fan of comedy anime, for this whole recommendation, Ouran High School Host Club is a lot better than some of its parts. I mean, its part particularly delivering this quintessentially of how comedy anime of how many viewers will enjoy Ouran High School Host Club as well. So my thoughts for Ouran High School Host Club, however, this is probably your 2006 type anime, which you guessed it, because I mean, if you love comedy anime with some shojo, I mean, in my opinion, I liked this anime a lot more than Maid Sama, in my opinion. I mean, Maid Sama's okay in my opinion, but I just don't like the female main character from Maid Sama, in my opinion. But Ouran High School Host Club, on the other hand, this gets a lot of fun and there's some laughs and some humor. What you see, what if you ever watch any certain episode of Ouran High School Host Club as well, in the most part, in this particular way. And yes, this is particularly came out in 2006, which is I think around the same time as Claymore in the whole when it comes to anime that came out in 2006. I think this is one of the anime titles that came out in the mid 2000s, which is until up until Inuyasha, The Final Act, and Nora, Rise of the Yokai Clan, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, and One Punch Man and Beastars arrived as well. But overall, because I'm it's been a while since I've watched Ouran High School Host Club. I can give this anime series as a rewatch at this point, even though I have watched this when I borrowed it on DVD from or on Blu-ray from the library, which I remembered back in 2019 when I first watched this. I mean, it's been a while since I watched this anime, which is probably about a couple years ago. I think it's just how it is, as how I remembered watching this anime as well. I mean, it's not even a pain in the butt as Maid Sama, as because ironically of how this anime gets a lot of more fun and more laughs. But I know there are some roses everywhere, especially in the visuals of how the animation and the visuals goes, of how the creativeness flows, particularly of how you, if you ever studied the visual and animation in Japanese anime in general. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Ouran High School Host Club for today. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts, because, I mean, I like this anime, in my opinion, I like this anime a lot more better than Maid Sama, because it's a lot of fun as well. Hope subscribe for content, my anime plan link in the description down below. You can share this video on your Twitter, Facebook, if you have Twitter and Facebook account on all social media. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up by smacking the like button on this video if you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave in the comments in the comment section below what is your thoughts and your opinion on Ouran High School Host Club by leaving in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RuRoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified as well if you enjoyed this video, as well as if you're new to my channel by smacking the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. And keep it otaku for this anime review, and I got an upcoming more anime review that I have something new, what we have for what's in store for today for our next upcoming anime review. Stay tuned for my next anime review. I have an anime remake that I haven't reviewed that I should have done for tomorrow's anime review on Sailor Moon Crystal. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Sailor Moon Crystal, because you won't want to miss another anime review.